Ryan Dales didn't expect to cry in his rusty old van on a Monday morning. But here he was gripping the steering wheel with one hand and a crumpled daycare bill in the other, trying not to let his 6-year-old son, Dylan, see the panic in his eyes. "Dad, are we still getting pizza tonight?" Dylan asked from the back seat, swinging his legs, totally unaware that his dad's bank account had dipped below $20. Ryan forced a smile. "Yeah, buddy, just gotta fix one more AC today and we'll make it happen." He didn't mention that the job had come in last minute or that he was only doing it because the other tech had called out. The work order said luxury high-rise downtown. Name, Lila Norwood. He didn't know the name, but the address screamed money and money meant tips. By the time he pulled up to the towering glass building, Ryan had already wiped the grease from his hands on his jeans and combed his dark hair back with his fingers. Dylan was dropped off at school, thank God, and Ryan was running on coffee and stress when he was buzzed in by the doorman. "Penthouse," the man said without looking up. "Penthouse, of course." Ryan stepped into the private elevator and rode it all the way to the top. The second the doors opened, he was hit with cold air and even colder marble floors. He knocked twice. Then the door opened. And there she was. Lila Norwood. Long, dark auburn hair tied back in a low ponytail, a silk blouse tucked into high-waisted slacks, and eyes that looked like they didn't blink unless it was for a reason. She was stunning, intimidating, and barefoot. "You're the AC guy?" she asked, one brow raised. Ryan held up his toolbox. "That's me, Ryan from Dale's HVAC." She stepped aside. "It's the unit in the bedroom, keeps cutting out." He followed her through the penthouse, trying not to stare, but it was impossible. The place looked like a movie set floor-to-ceiling windows, a grand piano, fresh orchids on every surface. Everything screamed wealth, but she didn't. She was calm, direct, and surprisingly down to earth. "I'll stay out of your way," she said, heading toward a sleek desk in the corner. "Let me know if you need anything." Ryan nodded and got to work. It was a simple fix, really. The wiring was loose. 15 minutes and a couple of screws later, the unit purred back to life. "I think I've got it," he called out. Lila walked in and stood beside him, arms crossed. "That fast?" "Yeah, it wasn't a big deal. Just a poor install from whoever did it last." She smiled the first real smile he'd seen from her. "You're good at this." "Been doing it a long time," he said, standing up and wiping his hands. She looked at him for a moment longer than necessary. "You have a kid." Ryan blinked. "Yes, how'd you know?" "There's a crayon drawing sticking out of your toolbox," she pointed. "It says to Daddy, I love you." He chuckled, shaking his head. "Dylan made that last week, said it was for good luck." Lila's expression softened. "Cute name." "Thanks, he's the best thing I've got." There was a silence between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. She looked at him like she was curious, not in a condescending way, but like she actually wanted to know more. He didn't know why, but it made his chest tighten a little. "How much do I owe you?" she finally asked. 200, but honestly it was a simple. She walked to her desk, pulled out a checkbook, and scribbled something down. When she handed it to him, he blinked. This is 500. You came out last minute and you fixed it fast. Call it a tip." Ryan hesitated. "That's too much." "I decide what's too much in my own home," she said, but her tone was light. He finally took it. "Thanks." "Do you always work alone?" "Yeah, can't afford help right now. Pick up as many jobs as I can while Dylan's in school." "You're a full-time single dad?" she asked, voice quieter now. "Yeah, his mom left when he was 2. Haven't seen her since." Lila looked down, then back up at him. "That must be hard." Ryan shrugged. "It's life." He started packing up, but she walked to the door with him. You ever do work outside the city? Sometimes. Why? I have a cabin up by the lake. It's got a busted furnace. Maybe you could look at it. Sure, just let me know when. She handed him a business card. My assistant will call you. When he read it, his heart skipped. Lila Norwood, CEO, Norwood Innovations. He looked up. You're a CEO. She smiled, almost like she was bracing for the usual reaction. Yeah. He laughed under his breath. Damn, you don't exactly lead with that. She tilted her head. Would you have treated me differently if I had? No, he said honestly. But I probably wouldn't have cracked that joke about rich people having cold hearts. She really laughed this time, and it was the kind of laugh that made people turn around in a restaurant. Bright, warm, real. As he stepped into the elevator, she called out, Ryan. He turned. Don't lose that crayon drawing. He grinned, never. Over the next week, Ryan couldn't get her out of his head. He told himself it was just because she'd paid him more than double, but it wasn't that. It was the way she looked at him like he mattered, like she actually saw him. And when her assistant called to schedule the cabin repair, he said yes before she even finished the sentence. 2 days later, Ryan and Dylan drove up to the lake. The cabin was massive, more like a lodge than a cabin, but still cozy somehow. And when Lila opened the door, wearing jeans and a hoodie, barefoot again, she looked like someone completely different. Hey, she said. Hey, he glanced down at Dylan. This is my son, Dylan. She crouched down. Hi, Dylan, I'm Lila. Are you rich? Dylan asked immediately. Ryan groaned. Dylan. Lila laughed. I guess I am. Is that okay? Dylan nodded. Cool. Ryan looked at her embarrassed. Sorry, he's honest. I like honest, she said. Come in. Ryan got to work on the furnace, but every time he looked up, he saw Dylan and Lila sitting by the fireplace, playing cards or reading or drawing. She was patient with him, kind, and genuinely interested in everything he said. When he finished, the sky was already dark. You guys should stay for dinner, Lila said. I made too much pasta. Ryan hesitated. We don't want to impose. You're not. I'd like the company. They stayed. And for the first time in a long time, Ryan felt like things might actually be okay. As Dylan drifted off on the couch, Lila handed Ryan a glass of wine and sat beside him. Thank you for today, she said quietly. You're the one feeding us, he joked. I meant for showing up, for being who you are. He looked at her confused. What do you mean? She looked at Dylan, then back at him. You're a good man, Ryan, I see it. He didn't know what to say to that. So instead, he just looked at her. And she didn't look away. When Ryan opened the shop the next morning, there was a white envelope taped to the door. Inside was a handwritten note. Thank you again. Call if anything else needs fixing, L. Below it, tucked neatly, was a voucher for a week's stay at a wilderness resort near the Lake Luxury he'd never even considered. No branding, just a private contact number. He stared at it, unsure whether to laugh or call and say she must have mixed him up with someone else. He ended up doing neither. The rest of the week passed in a blur of work orders, late-night mac and cheese dinners, and Dylan's school projects. But Lila lingered at the edge of Ryan's thoughts in a way that made everything else feel quieter. He didn't hear from her again, but he didn't throw the envelope out either. On Friday, right after picking Dylan up, his phone rang. It wasn't a number he recognized. Ryan Dales, he answered, balancing the phone on his shoulder while Dylan climbed into the van. Don't hang up, said Lila's voice. I need a favor. He straightened. What kind of favor? Emergency repair. Not mine. A friend. She's got a gallery opening tonight and the cooling system gave out an hour ago. She's panicking. He glanced at Dylan, who was already buckling his seatbelt. I've got my kid with me. Bring him. Ryan hesitated. There'll be food, space to run around, and probably a million things he'll try to touch. He sighed. Text me the address. It was in a refurbished brick warehouse in the Arts District. The place was buzzing when they arrived, but someone led him straight to a back hallway where a panicked woman in all black was fanning herself with a clipboard. You're Ryan? She asked, relief flooding her face. Yeah, where's the unit? She pointed toward the ceiling. Back corner, it's pushing warm air. He got to work, balancing on a ladder while Dylan sat nearby with a plate of fruit and cheese someone handed him. The fix was tricky, but doable. By the time he climbed down, cool air was finally circulating. The woman hugged him. Ryan blinked. That was a thank you, she said. You have no idea what you just saved. Then Lila appeared from the crowd, now dressed in a long navy coat over a cream-wrap dress, her hair pulled into a loose braid. She stopped short when she saw him and smiled without saying anything. You called in a superhero, the woman said to her. Yes, Lila replied without looking away from Ryan. I did. Later, as the gallery filled with people in linen suits and designer heels, Ryan and Dylan found themselves seated at a small table, near one of the installations, giant suspended glass orbs that shimmered under the lights. Lila joined them, dropping gracefully into the chair beside Ryan. You look like you're waiting for a fire drill, she said. It's not exactly my scene. She gestured to Dylan, who was now chatting with a sculptor about how he made something look like a dinosaur. He's adapting faster than you. Ryan leaned back. He's 6. He thinks everything's an adventure. Lila tilted her head. And you? I think this might be the first time I've worn a button down in 2 years. She smiled. You clean up well. He looked down at his shirt, slightly wrinkled from the van ride. Don't lie to me, Norwood. I'm not. She sipped her drink. You're just not used to being seen. That made him pause. You always say things like that, he asked. Only when they're true. The evening wore on, but they stayed seated, talking about things neither had mentioned before. Lila told him about her childhood in Vermont, about the boarding school she hated, and the grandmother who taught her to sew. Ryan told her how he used to fix things around the house just to keep his hands busy when he couldn't sleep. You ever think about starting over? She asked suddenly. Every morning, he said. She nodded like she understood. Once the event started winding down, Lila stood. I'll walk you out. They stepped into the alley behind the gallery, where the air was cooler and quiet. Dylan had fallen asleep in the van, curled under Ryan's work jacket. Lila leaned against the wall, folding her arms. You're not like anyone I've met in years, she said. Ryan looked at her uncertain. That good or bad? It's rare, and rare usually means important. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer, close enough to see the faint freckles along her collarbone, to smell the faint trace of jasmine on her skin. I thought you didn't date civilians, he said. I don't, she replied, but you're not just anyone. Before he could respond, a car door slammed around the corner and the moment broke. She stepped back. Drive safe. He opened the van door and climbed in, heart still pounding. As they pulled away, Dylan stirred. Did you fix stuff again? Yeah, Ryan said softly, something like that. The next morning, Ryan found a large envelope at his front door. Inside was a single-page contract from Norwood Innovations. Consulting agreement facilities, upgrade, and design advisor. At the bottom, scribbled in blue ink, start thinking bigger, L. He looked at the offer twice, then again. It wasn't a job, it was an opportunity, a door, a completely different life. He didn't even realize Dylan was standing behind him until he spoke. "Are we moving?" Ryan turned. "Why would you say that?" "You're holding it like it's a treasure map." He laughed once. "Maybe it is." That night, Ryan called the number on the letterhead. "Norwood Innovations," came the voice. "Can I speak to Lila?" "Hold, please." A few seconds later, her voice came through. "I was wondering when you'd call," she said. "I'm not used to people offering me things." "Then get used to it." He paused. "What does this job actually mean?" "It means I want you to help me build something better. It means I trust you." He exhaled. "What if I say yes?" "I'll send a car Monday morning." "What if I say no?" There was a beat of silence. "Then I'll keep finding excuses to see you, and eventually you'll say yes anyway." He felt his lips twitch, not quite a smile, but close. "You're really not used to people saying no, are you?" "Not when I know what I want," she said. Ryan looked down at the contract one more time. "Monday it is." The black car arrived at 7:15 sharp. Ryan stood in the doorway, tying Dylan's shoelaces while the driver waited beside the curb. Dylan's backpack was already packed with a peanut butter sandwich, 2 juice boxes, and a note that said, "You're brave, be kind. I love you, Dad." Mrs. Ellison, the retired nurse from 2 doors down, waved from her porch. "We'll be fine. Go save the world, Ryan." He handed her the list of emergency numbers anyway. The city looked different from the backseat of a luxury sedan. Clean, fast, detached. Ryan kept his hands folded in his lap, unsure if he was supposed to say anything to the driver or just sit quietly. He chose silence, watching as the streets narrowed and the buildings grew taller until they pulled into an underground garage beneath a building with mirrored windows and a gold-lettered sign, Norwood Innovations. The elevator had no buttons. The driver placed a key card against a panel, and the doors shut with a soft hiss. When they opened again, Lila was already waiting. She wore a tailored navy pantsuit, her heels quiet against the polished floor as she walked toward him. The office behind her was a sleek, open space with floor-to-ceiling windows and bursts of color from modern art pieces he couldn't name. People moved quickly through glass-walled conference rooms and workstations, but no one looked rushed. There was a rhythm to it, like a machine that hummed instead of clanked. "I wasn't sure you'd actually come," she said. "I wasn't sure either," he replied. Without another word, she turned and led him down a hallway lined with framed patents and photographs, Lila shaking hands with a prime minister, receiving an award from a tech consortium, standing beside a solar-powered water filtration unit in a desert village. "This way." The office she brought him to had no nameplate. Inside was a long oak table, a whiteboard covered in digital schematics, and a folder waiting at the edge. "This is yours," she said. Ryan didn't move. "I thought I'd be fixing pipes, not running point on redesigning buildings." "You're not fixing anything anymore," she said. "You're designing systems from scratch. This is the first building we're converting to our new sustainability model. I need someone who understands the guts of it, not just the theory." He opened the folder. Blueprints, specifications, a budget line that had more zeros than he'd ever seen in one place. "There's a team already in place," she continued. "You'll oversee them, evaluate what works, what doesn't. Your word is final." He looked up. "Why me?" "Because you don't look at buildings like trophies. You look at them like places people live and breathe. That matters." She didn't wait for him to respond. Instead, she gestured toward the glass wall behind him. "Come here." Reluctantly, he followed her to the window. Below them, the city moved in quiet chaos. Buses pulled into terminals. Construction crews welded steel. A street performer played cello at the edge of a plaza. "You see that building just past the park?" she asked. "The one with the green scaffolding." "That's next, after this one's done." He turned to her. "You're serious about all this?" "I don't do anything halfway." He stepped back from the glass. "I don't know how to lead a team like this. I've never even worked in an office." "You'll learn. And if you screw it up, then you'll fix it. That's what you do, isn't it?" Before he could answer, a knock came at the door. A woman in a red blouse poked her head in. "Sorry, Lila, your lunch with the Urban Development Committee is in 15. "Thanks, I'll be down in 5. The door shut again, and Lila turned back to him. "You don't have to decide today, but the offer stands. You're on the payroll starting now, whether you show up or not. You're not worried I'll take the money and disappear?" "No," she said, "because I know you wouldn't." He followed her out to the elevator, her pace fast but unhurried. As they reached it, she paused and looked up at him. "You said yes too easily." "I didn't say yes," he reminded her. "You came in the car." He hesitated. "Maybe I came for the challenge." "No," she said, stepping into the elevator. "You came because you want to build something that matters." The doors closed. He stood there for a long moment, feeling the silence left behind. By the time he returned home, Dylan was sitting on the porch with a popsicle in one hand and sidewalk chalk all over his jeans. "Dad, Mrs. Ellison let me watch a movie with dinosaurs that eat people." Mrs. Ellison called over. It was supervised. Ryan laughed, then crouched down beside Dylan. "Hey, bud, how would you feel about moving into a place with an elevator?" Dylan's eyes went wide. "Like a hotel." "Better than a hotel." "Will I still get to draw on the sidewalk?" "We'll find one with a rooftop garden," Ryan said. "You can draw on the sky." That night, after Dylan was asleep, Ryan sat at the kitchen table with the blueprints spread in front of him. He traced the lines with his finger, imagining the pipes, the wires, the insulation. Not just how it would work, but how it would feel, how it would breathe. His phone buzzed. One missed call, Lila. He stared at the screen, then pressed redial. She answered on the first ring. "I was just thinking about you," she said. "I didn't say yes." "You're going to," she replied. He didn't deny it. "I've got questions," he said. "Ask." "Why me?" There was a pause. "Because I don't want someone who's comfortable. I want someone who's hungry. Someone who knows what it costs to live on the edge of it all." He closed his eyes. "And what if I fall flat on my face?" "I'll be there when you get back up." He opened his eyes again, staring at the blueprints. "I don't know what this is," he said quietly. "Between us." "It's not nothing," she replied. "No," he agreed, "it's not nothing." He heard her breathe on the other end of the line. Then, softly, "Come back tomorrow." He didn't answer right away. But he didn't say no. Ryan stood on the rooftop of the newly converted Norwood Innovations building, the wind tugging gently at the collar of his jacket as he scanned the skyline. The city stretched out beneath him, alive, pulsing, and for the first time in years, no longer something he was surviving, but something he was shaping. Below, on the 24th floor, his team was finalizing the last stages of the building's system integration. The launch was set for the following week, and Lila had insisted on a full walkthrough of every floor, every system, every control panel. She didn't just want things to function, she wanted them to feel human. Ryan understood that now. He'd spent the last 3 months buried in blueprints, collaborating with engineers, challenging architects on airflow and light diffusion, and showing up every morning with coffee in one hand and Dylan's schedule in the other. He had learned how to balance meetings with soccer practices, how to translate technical jargon into something Dylan could understand when asked what his dad did now. "You build the invisible stuff," Dylan had said one night over dinner, "the pieces people don't see but still need." Now, standing with the city at his feet, Ryan finally saw what his son meant. He stepped away from the edge when he heard the door open behind him. Soft footfalls followed a rhythm he recognized immediately. Lila came to stand beside him, her hair pulled back beneath a wool beret, a navy coat cinched at the waist. She didn't speak right away. They rarely needed to fill silence now. "You didn't come back downstairs," she said eventually. "Just needed a minute." Her eyes swept across the horizon. "Do you like it?" "I don't hate it anymore," he replied. She turned to him. "You used to hate it." "Only because it felt like it was always winning." "And now?" He looked at her. "Now I'm catching up." She smiled, not like she was proud of him, but like she'd always known he would. "I have something for you," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "Another job?" "No," she said, reaching into her coat pocket and holding something out. It was a key, not to the building, he already had one of those, but smaller, older. Brass. He took it. "What's this?" "The cabin, it's yours now." He stared at her, stunned. "I can't take that." "You already did. I signed the papers last week. It's in your name." "Lila." "It's not a gift," she interrupted. "It's a thank you for rebuilding something I thought I'd lost." He looked at her, searching for something to say that wouldn't sound small. "You didn't have to do that." "I know, but I wanted to." He held the key tighter. "I'll take care of it." "I know you will." They walked back toward the stairwell, the wind catching her coat as she moved. Before she reached the door, she looked over her shoulder. "Dylan's school play is still tomorrow night, right?" "Yes, he's got 2 lines and a paper crown." "I wouldn't miss it." The next evening, the school auditorium buzzed with parents and siblings packed shoulder to shoulder on metal folding chairs. Ryan sat in the second row, scanning the crowd until he spotted her Lila, dressed simply in a dark sweater and jeans, slipping into the seat beside him without drawing attention. "He nervous?" she whispered. "He said he's going to project like a lion," Ryan replied, "whatever that means." When Dylan appeared on stage, his cardboard crown slightly crooked, he spotted them immediately and waved with both hands. Ryan gave a small wave back, and Lila smiled beside him. After the curtain call, they waited near the side exit, surrounded by parents holding flowers and phones. Dylan burst through the doors, crown in hand, cheeks flushed. "I didn't forget my lines," he shouted. "You did great," Ryan said, lifting him up. Lila leaned in. "You roared louder than any lion I've ever heard." Dylan beamed. "Did you hear the part where I said kingdoms are built on kindness?" "Clear as day." That night, after they dropped Dylan off with Mrs. Ellison for a sleepover, Ryan and Lila walked through the nearly empty streets toward the old park near his old apartment, the same one he used to bring Dylan to when he couldn't afford a babysitter and needed to think. They sat on the swings, their coats brushing occasionally in the cool night air. "I never asked what made you start all this," he said. "All what?" "Norwood, the work, the buildings, the legacy." She looked up at the stars, her breath visible in the cold. "My father was an architect. Brilliant, cold. He built monuments to himself and never asked who would live inside them. I wanted to do it differently. Ryan nodded slowly. You did. She turned to him. And you rebuilt something too. He tilted his head. What do you mean? You took a life that was crumbling and turned it into something solid. Not for applause, not for reward, just because you love him. He swallowed the lump in his throat. It's all I've ever known how to do. Exactly, she said. That's why I fell for you. He looked at her stunned. You what? I fell in love with you, Ryan. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even loud. She said it the way she did everything, with quiet certainty and no escape routes. He stood from the swing and stepped in front of her, cupping her face with both hands. I've been falling since that first day in your penthouse, he said. I just didn't know what to call it. She reached up, covered his hands with hers, and leaned into him. When they kissed, it was slow, grounded, and complete. Everything else, the noise, the past, the difference in their worlds, fell away. Later, back in his apartment while Dylan slept upstairs, Ryan stepped out onto the small balcony. Lila joined him, wrapping a blanket around both of their shoulders. They looked out at the city together. You ever think about what's next? She asked. Sometimes. Want to build it together. He looked down at the key still in his pocket, the cabin, the second chance, the life that wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah, he said, I do. And with that, the man who once fixed broken things for a living finally realized he had built something unbreakable. A home, a future, and a love that didn't care where he came from, only where they were going next. Together. 3 months later, Ryan stood beneath a canopy of lamp-lit trees as golden leaves spiraled down around him. The Norwood Foundation's fall gala was in full swing, with champagne flutes clinking, orchestras humming, and the city's elite mingling under a clear October sky. The event was held in the newly renovated rooftop garden of the Norwood Tower, the very building Ryan had helped redesign. But he wasn't thinking about the architecture. He was watching Lila. She stood at the far end of the garden, deep in conversation with a group of international investors. Her dress was deep emerald, satin that caught the light with every movement, and her hair was swept into a soft twist, a single strand curling against her cheek. When she laughed, she tilted her head just slightly, and it hit him again how much he loved her. He hadn't told her yet, not in so many words, not the way he meant to. She caught his gaze just then, mid-sentence, and excused herself without hesitation. As she made her way toward him, her heels whispering against the stone path, Ryan felt the world quiet around him. You clean up too well, she said, her eyes warm. That suit's going to ruin your reputation as a dusty rebel. I borrowed it from the guy I used to be, he replied. He said I could keep it for one night. You should keep it longer. He let his gaze drift across the rooftop, where Dylan was helping one of the staff hand out dessert trays. He's loving this, said he wants to be a waiter now. Lila leaned in closer. He told me he's only doing it because he wants early access to the chocolate mousse. Ryan laughed under his breath. Smart kid. He gets it from his father. He looked at her, really looked at her. You sure about this? About me still being part of your world when the glitter fades? I didn't fall in love with glitter, she said. I fell in love with the man who shows up even when no one's clapping. His heart beat louder in his chest. You love me. She didn't blink, completely. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, velvet-wrapped box. Her eyebrows lifted. You didn't. I did, he said, opening it. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, with a small emerald flanked by 2 diamonds. Nothing flashy, nothing loud, just right. Lila stared at it, her eyes beginning to shine. I know we come from different worlds, he said, voice steady. But we built our own, and I want to spend the rest of my life inside it with you, will you marry me? She didn't hesitate. Yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring onto her finger as the orchestra behind them swelled into a slower, richer tune. They didn't wait for applause. They didn't need it. Their world was already watching Dylan, standing with his moose, cheering like he just won the lottery, the staff clapping softly, the city glowing around them. Lila leaned into him and whispered, "Now you're officially stuck with me." "I was stuck the moment you opened that penthouse door barefoot." She grinned and pulled him into a kiss that was everything they had fought for, soft and certain, deep and grounding. The kind that made time stop. Months passed. Winter melted into spring, and with it came changes, not rushed but intentional. Ryan sold the old van and opened a small consulting office inside Norwood's new sustainability division. Lila stepped back from the day-to-day operations and began focusing on philanthropic work, funding community development programs and green housing initiatives. They moved into a home just outside the city, a place with wide windows, creaky floors, and a porch swing Dylan insisted on repainting himself 4 different times. The wedding was held at the cabin. Just family, a few friends, a lake in the background and wildflowers in mason jars on every surface. Dylan walked Lila down the aisle, holding her hand with the gravity of a best man who took his job seriously. When Ryan saw her step out beneath the arch, barefoot and radiant, he realized he had never known peace until that moment. They wrote their own vows. Lila promised to never let the world harden what had made Ryan kind. Ryan promised to always hold space for her ambition and her stillness, to love her when she was brilliant, and when she was breaking, to be steady even when life wasn't. "I didn't believe in fate," she whispered, slipping the ring on his hand, "until you." "I didn't believe in love like this," he said, voice thick, "until you gave it to me." They kissed, and the wind picked up just enough to send petals scattering across the lake. Later, with the house quiet and Dylan asleep upstairs, Ryan and Lila lay curled on the couch, the fireplace flickering low. "You know," she murmured, tracing her fingers along his arm, "I never planned for any of this." "Me neither. But I'm glad the plan failed." He kissed the top of her head. "Best failure of my life." She turned, her eyes meeting his. "You feel it too, don't you? Like we never would have found this if we hadn't both been broken first." "Sometimes," he said, "you have to fall apart to land exactly where you're meant to be." She nestled closer. "We're home, aren't we?" He tightened his arms around her. "Yes, Lila, we're finally home." And there, in the warmth of a life they built from the ground up, with love that had grown like roots through concrete, Ryan and Lila fell asleep. Together. Whole. And completely, irrevocably in love.